Hello and welcome to Build Guide. So today we've got a burst roaming warrior build for you. This build was really popular back in the beta and the early days of Guild Wars 2. It's seen a number of iterations since then, and it's pretty much your alternative to a thief roamer. Obviously there are other professions that can roam. Mesmers are quite popular roamers in some team setups I've seen recently. But this roaming build is quite interesting. Basically, unlike the thief roamer, which is very single target based, this can both deal single target damage and AoE damage at the same time. It's going to be very focused. It can easily kill one person very quickly using the exact same combination that you would use in a team fight. Making it fairly a bit more versatile in some ways. Obviously it's not quite as slippery as a thief, that's the upside to the thief build, and this, even though it has more HP, this is a bit more squishy because you don't actually have that slipperiness to escape. It's got a bit more mobility than the build used to have, which does give it some advantages, but you have to be quite quick and proactive in escaping fights if you think things are going to go wrong. So the weapon sets. First up we've got the Greatsword, which is your standard burst warrior weapon really. 100 blades, everyone knows about this skill. It's so powerful. It locks you in place but dishes out a massive amount of damage while it's casting. Whirlwind Attack again is a very powerful skill. This is definitely part of your burst combination. And Blade Trail is very important in this build as well. Cripples are really important because it's actually going to apply an immobilization as well, which is giving you another way to get 100 blades out without having to use Frenzy or Bull's Charge. So you're not using your utilities as much, you're not relying on them quite as much as you used to in the old build. Rush as well is again a very important skill. In the second weapon set we've got a sword and shield, so this is where the biggest changes come really to the weapons in this build. The great sword and shield were standard, but the sword used to be an axe. So the reason they used to use an axe was that you'd have a very powerful skill called Eviscerate on the burst skill. It took a bit of a nerfing I believe quite a while back, and a lot of players got very used to the animation and now dodge it very effectively. However, they're not quite as used to seeing the sword, and it does make it fairly effective. You also get a leap there on the number 2, which is very useful at getting in and out of combat. And a cripple, a melee cripple, which is even more important down the number 3 as well. And like I said, that will immobilize, allowing you to get 100 blades out. Another way to immobilize them is using the burst. So the burst applies a very long immobilization if you use it when you have maximum adrenaline, meaning you can basically use flurry, swap weapons into your greatsword, and then use 100 blades to dish out a full rotation of it without actually having to use frenzy at all to get all the damage out. Obviously, if they break the immobilization, they're going to move, but a lot of players, if you can later in the battle sort of thing, they won't have any immobilization breakers up, so you can use that quite effectively. Shield Bash there on number 4 is again a stun, so that's another way to get out as well if you want. It's also another leap finisher, and then block attacks there on shield stance, so this is basically a panic button if all things start to go wrong for you. For a healing skill, you've pretty much only got one choice. You've got to go with Mending for this build. Of course, the other heals are effective, but Mending applies you some condition removal as well, and that's really important because we don't actually have any other condition removal in this build at all. Next up for our utility skills, we've got Endure Pain, which is basically another panic button. It's instant casting because it's a stance, and it also lasts for 5 seconds of taking absolutely no direct damage or condition damage that is applied after it casts. Any condition damage that is applied before you trigger will still continue to tick throughout its duration. Bull's Charge and Frenzy make up the key part of this sort of burst rotation. So if everything's off cooldown and you're going to try to spike someone down very quickly, the combination is basically going with Bull's Charge, which leaps you onto them and knocks them down. It's got a range of 900, which is pretty damn effective. Takes you quite a long way, so that's a very effective way to close the gap. You then follow that with Frenzy, which is going to give you 4 seconds of quickness, allowing you to get 100 blades off, Whirlwind Attack, and pretty much finish them off then, because they're not going to be alive after that. If they are, a couple normal whacks with the normal attack will finish them off. Do bear in mind though, Frenzy basically makes you take 50% more damage while it's in action, so using it in team fights can be a death sentence unless you also have Endure Pain up. So if you're in a team fight and you're planning to rush, say there's 3 players all grouped up together, you can Bull's Charge in with Frenzy but also have Endure Pain ready to trigger as soon as you get into the fight to get it all off, and then try to get out of that as fast as possible using like Whirlwind Attack or Rush or Leap or something like that to get out of the fight. For the last skill, the elite skill, Signet of Rage, so again this is a pretty standard choice for this build. Swiftness is going to help you move around the map quicker and get you move around combat faster. Fury giving yourself more critical chance and might give yourself more damage. Great all-round choice. So for our rune choices, we're going with Superior Runes of the Ogre, increased power, increased critical damage, 4% increased raw damage, and a 5% chance to summon a Rock Dog when hit. So the Rock Dog dishes out quite a large amount of power, and quite a large amount of damage, sorry, and is actually quite popular among roamers in some of the top teams. It's a fairly good choice, this rune set. There are other rune sets that can be used, but I would recommend the Ogre one. If you are going to go otherwise, perhaps the Rune of Divinity, giving yourself quite a large amount of critical damage if you want to focus on that a bit more. It's up to you really, but I would recommend going with the Ogre runes. For the Greatsword, we've got Superior Sigil of Fire, so this is going to trigger a Flame Blast AoE. Basically, this is basically to up the damage that you're going to be dishing out from 100 blades. That's really what that's all about. It's going to give you almost a guaranteed trigger every time you're casting 100 blades. You're going to dish out 9 attacks, 30% chance on critical, we've got 44% chance crit rate, and we've also got 64% when we've got Fury up from Signet of Rage, so that's pretty damn likely to hit. We've got the same sigil in the sword. You can go elsewhere with this if you like, but obviously it can be useful if you're in team fights where you're opening up a flurry and then using 100 blades. It's just another way to trigger it if you want. And then the sigil of Superior Bloodlust in the shield, giving us a chance to do that. So basically when you're killing people, when you put someone in the down state, you want to try to switch into your sword and shield. So often what I tend to do, if you're entering a team fight sort of thing, you're going to try and pick someone off from the outside. You're going to be ball charging in, frenzy, 100 blades, whirling attack, blah blah blah, using the Greatsword, and then as soon as they go down, swap into the shield, use leap to escape and get out of combat a little bit, use the shield stance if you need it if you're being focused, and you're also going to get the plus 50 points when the player dies. For the amulet, we've gone with the Berserker's Amulet, a pretty solid choice if you are playing a burst damage build like this. Obviously this leaves you very, very squishy. You can see our toughness is absolutely next to nothing. We do have a lot of power, large amount of crit rate, HP's reasonable. I mean, if you're talking about an elementalist build like this, you're probably only looking at like 13k HP. However, with this really small toughness pool, that HP is going to drop very quickly, so don't take it as too much of a survivability boon. Now, for our trait choices, we've gone 20, 20, 0, 10, 10. Quite different to the old build, which used to have 20 points in the defense line, giving yourself quite a bit more survivability. We're going to go through all this now and explain why we don't need quite that much survivability now. Endure Pain obviously makes a big difference. It used to be balanced stance there in the original build. But anyway, 20 points in the strength line, giving us damage foes at the end of your dodge roll, and burst skills restore endurance. Increased damage based on how much adrenaline you have. So if you've got 3 stacks of adrenaline, you're going to be dealing 12% more damage. That's pretty huge. That's going to be 16% more damage when you factor in our runes, not factoring increased critical damage that we have as well. So that's going to hurt quite a lot. And then Greatsword and Spear damage increased by 10%, so we're getting a hell of a lot of damage now out of this Greatsword. We've got max adrenaline, we're going to be dishing a lot of damage with the 100 blades. 20 points in the arm line gives us 30% chance to bleed on critical hits. And burst skills have 10% increased critical chance. Gain Fury and Vigor for 10 seconds when you take damage greater than 10% of your maximum HP in a single attack. Triggers every 30 seconds. This is important. More Vigor is going to give you more dodges, and the more Fury uptime is going to give you more crits. You could go somewhere else with this trait if you wanted to. It's up to you. And then Forceful Greatsword there as well. So you gain Might on critical hit with the Greatsword or Spear. Greatsword and Spear skills have 20% faster recharge. So skills are going to recharge faster, and we're also going to get a lot of Might stacking up as well from 100 blades and a Whirlwind attack which hit multiple times. 10 points in tactics, gain 5 extra toughness per level while reviving, making us a bit more tanky when we're trying to revive someone. However, this build is so squishy, you're not going to be reviving anyone hardly at all, and you've got no stability or anything like that to allow you to do it effectively. Leg Specialist, apply a 1 second immobilize whenever you cripple a target with a skill. This skill is very important. This is basically turning Blade Trail and Hamstring into immobilizations as well, giving us more ways to get out the 100 blades damage, giving us more options. 10 points in the Discipline line, gain 5 stacks of Adrenaline on a weapon swap, and then gain 2% critical chance for stage 1 of Adrenaline, 5% for stage 2, and 9% for stage 3. So it's increasing our rate of critical. This is not actually the critical damage, it's the critical hit chance. So it's upping how much we're going to crit. So with 3 stacks of, it's going to give us 9%, which is then going to push us way up here, and we're actually going to hit 53%. Bear in mind we're also going to have Fury uptime, so we're going to hit 73% critical rate. That is friggin' huge. I mean, that is a hell of a lot of crits. Bearing in mind also that our sigils are based off of critting, that's going to give it even more, and we get the extra bit of Fury uptime there as well from Furious Reaction. A really great all-round build for bursting down players. It's got some serious AoE damage. It's able to take on team fights more effectively than some of the other builds. The biggest weaknesses though are your finishing and reviving of players. You're going to be very weak in that area. You're going to really struggle to bring one down. If your teammates start going down around you, you're going to struggle to get them back up or manage to do anything. Really, if you're trying to finish someone off, you're just going to be using your auto attacks to wear them down as quick as possible. So this first clip's got a few interesting fights that I want to draw attention to. So the first one is a 1v1 against this Guardian. So he jumps in there with Leap, we follow it with Blade Trail and immobilise him and get some damage out using 100 Blades and Whirling Attack. So he's there on very low HP, and we already managed to finish him off using Frenzy and to get the quickness for the finisher as well before he could knock us back or anything. Very, very quick execution there. Guardian's obviously fairly tanky. He was playing a fairly squishy Guardian build, to be fair, but they've still got a good amount of toughness even naturally, and he went down quick. So it's just showing you a bit of the power of this build. So we've got that Trebuchet down already. That's my main job as a roamer on this map anyway. So we're going to be spawn camping them for a moment. So we've got this Elementalist coming out now. Come in to engage using Blade Trail while running forward, get 100 blades off. Unfortunately, he's going to move out the way, so we tried to Blade Trail after him to stop him. We missed a lot of the attacks, so he dodged out the way of them. He uses Mistform to escape and run away. Wait for it to wear off, follow up with a stun, and then the Fury. Unfortunately, our weapon swap was still a cooldown, so we couldn't swap and get the 100 blades off, but we still managed to deal a little bit of damage to him. And we bring it into the downstate here, another mobilisation, 100 blades, and he's down. So we leave him for a second and come to assist our teammates in this team fight. The Guardian got back up, so we're going to come and help our teammates to finish him off quickly. Rushing in there, does quite a lot of damage rush, and we used Fury and Bull's Charge there. Unfortunately, we missed, but we still managed to finish him off with some auto attacks from that before coming down here to finish off the Elementalists we brought down earlier. So that just showed you a few different bits there. We had a little 1v1 at the beginning to show you a classic burst rotation. We saw the immobilisation burst rotations. And I got to see the Bull's Charge one as well. So this next clip is actually very, very fast. We've slowed it down to half speed so we can actually run you through what's happening. This is basically an encounter against someone playing almost exactly the same build as this, so we're just going to show you how to counter it. So as we're coming up here, he's going to initiate with Blade Trail and try to immobilise us. There he goes, throwing that, and we managed to dodge it and evade it quite effectively. We then Bull's Charge in to stop him from fleeing back, Frenzy, and dish out quite a lot of damage using 100 blades, and then our own Whirlwind attack. The Whirlwind attack missed because he managed to avoid most of it. We then use Blade Trail to immobilise him again, so we waste his Bull's Charge. He then pops his Frenzy, we counter it with an instant stun from our shield, and then finish him off the Fire Blast there, putting him into the downstate. Really, really quick. We'll play it back in full speed for you just in a moment, so you can actually see just how quick that is to finish off a build very similar to this. And that's basically how you need to counter it. You need to just avoid those initial attacks, try to keep them trapped and at range when they pop their Bull's Charge. Try to avoid the Bull's Charge. If you can get out of the way of that, you're going to be alright. So this next clip is going to show us basically initiating combat on a few different opponents when we're outnumbered and softening up for our teammates. So basically we come over to this node and we're entering a 3v1. We focus the Guardian first. He's going to be the biggest threat to actually holding onto the node, and we pretty much brought him down then. You're going to see him appear in the downstate in the moment he actually got stealthed by his teammates. There he is in the downstate. The second biggest threat is Elementalist. They took some damage from that 100 blades, and we pretty much finished them off there with that Whirling attack, dealing a little bit of damage towards them and put them into the downstate. Teammates arrived to clean up the node. So this was just a pug game, so you can see they're all zerging about like a mindless mob as you often get in pugs, but yeah, we managed to finish them off quite quickly there. So we see this thief heading back towards the central node. We currently control that, and I don't really want to lose control, so we're going to try to get on point quickly. Our health regeneration kicks in, our leap comes off cooldown, we leap in and get on point before we manage to neutralise it. Coming with a stun. He managed to avoid that fairly effectively using his Shadow Step, which is well played. We immobilised him a second time, and he stealths again. We've got a Guardian on now and another Thief, so it's currently 3v1 yet again. Two Thieves playing both high damage specs, so we have to fall back at the fight. Our teammates arrive to zerg over the node. So we managed to soften them up and basically burn through a few of their skills before our teammates arrive, making them a bit of a squishier target. We come back onto the node and you can see there's a load of them down already. We're still alive because we fell back, and we're able to now initiate combat on this Thief who's on the back wall. We try to immobilise them, unfortunately we miss, so we Bull's Charge, Frenzy, 100 blades into the downstate and finish them off with a quickness finisher. Last but not least, we've got this Elementalist still up over here. He managed to stun us with his static field, which now stuns instead of just dazing, which is quite nice for the Elementalist. That was a change to the recent patch. But yeah, the Elementalist goes down very quickly as well. That's a clean wipe on their team, completely eradicated very, very quickly. So I hope you all enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to share, subscribe, like and comment, and you can follow us on Twitter. The link is in the description below. We'll be back on Wednesday when we've got a brand new PvP guide for you, so keep an eye out for that. See you all then.